Hi, this is In from Sinwise's Battlefield Manual. I'm here today to talk to you about Destruction Warlock rating in Pre-Cataclysm patch 4.0.1, and oh my goodness, is that a mouthful. I've got Sinwise here with Chojub, who's returned from the Twisted Nether, or the Nether? I don't know where he's from. But anyhow, he's back, and thank goodness, because I was missing him a little bit. And we're here in the wonderful purple Exodar to go ahead and look at destruction in a PvE environment. And yeah, everything has really changed in 4.0.1, and that's great because we were given a couple of weeks to go ahead and relearn our classes before the content of Cataclysm comes along. This is going to be good because things are really different. I've played Destruction back in 3.2 when it was very, very potent, and I thought it would be a good change. I've been playing Demonology in PvE for a good 9 months now, pretty much since Ice Crime's been released, so we've been... I've been getting acquainted with my fuzzy demon form, but now I'm going to go ahead and just revisit Destruction for a bit. And here I'm doing the old Destruction routine, and it still actually works very well, where you've got Immolate and Conflag and Chaos Bolt, and then Incinerate as your filler. Again, Immolate's your primary spell that you want to make sure is on the target. There are obviously curses that you would have to have chosen beforehand, but the basic idea was you put MO on, and then you Conflag, and then you Chaos Bolt and Incinerate the target down. The new rotation has a couple of new spells, though, which are make it a little bit more interesting. Bane of Doom is no longer it's no longer the Curse of Doom, but it's very similar. And Corruption now has found its way into our spell rotation, which is interesting, but not nearly as interesting as Shadow Flame, which you just saw me cast. Shadow Flame is something which is no longer a PvE talent; it's now something which has a great amount of damage potential in it. And then finally, we're no longer really watching Backdraft. We are now watching for a buff called Improved Soulfire. This buff is when your Soulfire hits the target, and you go ahead and you get a 15% increase to your spell haste, which is huge. It's sort of like having your spell stones back, only with a big flaming ball of fire. So here you can see I've got the rotation going with Need to Know. We'll talk a little bit more about Need to Know in a bit, but Need to Know is tracking the different spells that I'm casting here to make sure that we can keep the priorities going. And they're organized in terms of priority, where Improved Soulfire is the single most important buff we can keep up. ISF has had some changes over the last couple of days, where first it was only applying to the first 20% of the boss's health, so you'd open up with a Soulfire, like I'm doing here, and that would put it up, and then you'd go ahead and maintain it until you got to 80% of the boss's health. Then you have Immolate and Conflag, and Bane of Doom, and Shadow Fury, and Corruption, and then Chaos Bolt. And then you fill in with either your Soulfires, with Hasted Soulfires, whenever you have Empowered Imp proc, or, which we'll see later, they've got some cool stuff going on with Empowered Imp, or your usual filler of Incinerate. So here we go, and we're just working through the rotation a little bit here. One interesting thing about having Shadow Flame involved here is that Shadow Flame is it's a great spell, but it's a cone in front of you. It's an area of effect cone right in front of you. So you need to be close into the boss to make sure that it is taking effect. That's going to take a little bit. Oh, here's an Empowered Imp proc. The power auras that are now built in are quite neat, even though they don't always explain what they are. That is something saying, hey, you've got a free instant Soulfire. It works just like Nightfall and Shadowbolt for Affliction Warlocks. If you're used to that, then that's what that's going to be like. So there you see, I've gone ahead and with the Shadow Flame, which I was talking about before I had the Empowered Imp proc. Shadow Flame is something where you really want to think about using your teleport to get in and out of range quickly, where teleporting is a very powerful part of PvE as well as PvP, but this allows you to go ahead and stack in when it's safe to do so, and then come right back out when necessary. One final thing is that the Soul Shards have definitely changed. Soul Shards are no longer occupying up one of your bag slots and taking up everything. Instead, now you have 3 of them to use in a fight. And the Soul Harvest, which you saw me doing just a few moments ago, it's really our evocate, our way to regenerate those at the end game. So you want to make sure you start with a full load. And here we go. We're going to start unloading here on the dummy, where we want to go ahead and make sure that the Soulfire is kept up whenever possible. And then the goal here is really to keep the bars filled. You want to keep these bars filled, and Need to Know is set up. I've set it up so that it is in order of the priorities that you should be doing. My apologies. I've also rebound all my keys, so I occasionally hit the wrong thing. But in general, you can see that it's a fairly straightforward rotation, and that you want to keep, you still want to keep MO up, but you now have 3 dots that you're tracking instead of just 1, and that you have 3 cooldowns as well, and 1 proc that we want to watch for. Managing that proc is it's an interesting thing. I'm still trying to get my head around it a little bit in terms of what the best way to keep ISF up is, because you've got Soulfire, which is just a long cast time, and there are 2 different ways that you can go ahead and get it out really, really quickly. You can either wait for your Empowered Imp proc, which will do it no matter what, or you can cast it with Soulburn, which I've done. I did a little while ago. I'll do it again, where you can go ahead and set up Soulburn to use up one of your shards to make it an instant cast. That can be very, very handy when you have a lot of things going on and you don't have the time to get Soulfire cast out entirely. But there are times, like right now, where casting Soulfire is, was okay. I only let there were dots ticking. I didn't have other dots that needed to be refreshed. And the choice between Soulfire and Incinerate is a clear one if ISF has fallen off. You want to go ahead and get Soulfire back up. But if it's fallen off and you've got a couple of other things falling off, you may want to go ahead and get everything else back up too. Just taking some time to really figure out when the best time to use it is. That's actually pretty straightforward in terms of how this looks. One thing that I'm not really covering in this video, at least, is the companions that we've now gotten. In addition to our normal controllable demons, which have names, we have our Infernals and our Doom Guards, which now no longer cause our other demons to despawn. So you can summon them on your cooldowns. They have a 10-minute cooldown. They don't replace your imp, and they are something that you definitely should go ahead and use whenever you can. That said, knowing the fights and knowing when the right time is to use them, you're probably going to want them to use them during Heroism or Bloodlust, and you'll want to use them, use the right one for the right job. See, here's my Doom Guard. I call him Ike. I generally will use Ike on a single target, and I will use my Infernal on times that I need AoE. But generally speaking, you're going to want to use Ike. There you go. You just saw there was a soul burn. Went ahead and burned my last shard to go and get its Soulfire up. And this is pretty much how it looks when you start rocking and rolling as a Destro lock, right? You want to go ahead and get as many things going as possible. Keep ISF up, keep Immolate up. And that is really what it looks like as a Destro rating Warlock in the Pre-Cataclysm patch. Don't be afraid to experiment a lot with your talents, and to go ahead and experiment with your rotations. Keep an eye on places like WoW Insider and Elitist Jerks to go ahead and find out the latest and greatest. And thank you for watching. This is Sin from Sinwise's Battlefield Manual. Hope this has helped you out, and have a great time raiding in Icecrown before Cataclysm. Thanks. Have a great day.